In this video, I want to tell you what your purpose is. There is no scientific consensus on a single universal answer to the purpose of life. A lot of what you've been told on that topic is more of a narrative than a fact. What does exist and what psychology can actually study and measure is the sense of purpose. How strongly a person feels that their life has direction, meaning, and value. And that feeling has levels. It can be worked on, it can grow. So the real question is, what actually makes that feeling grow? There's a framework in psychology that answers exactly that. Self-determination theory. Self-determination theory is one of the most well-researched frameworks in motivational psychology. It shows that people function best and experience the highest levels of motivation and well-being when three core psychological needs are met: autonomy, competence, relatedness. The more these three needs are satisfied, the stronger your intrinsic motivation, well-being, and sense of meaning. And here's the part that matters. This theory doesn't try to answer what your purpose is or where it comes from. Different people believe different things, that it's given by God, rooted in personality, or discovered through experience. What SDT explains is something more practical. No matter what you believe about the source of purpose, your felt sense of purpose becomes stronger when these three needs are supported, which means you're not powerless. You don't have to wait for a revelation, a calling, or perfect circumstances. You can influence the conditions that make purpose feel alive. You're not building purpose from scratch. You're building the psychological environment in which purpose can grow. Number one, autonomy, which means I'm directing my own life. Autonomy is simply the feeling that you are choosing your own life, what you do with your time, how you spend your energy. It doesn't mean doing whatever you want 24 hours a day. It means your actions come from you, not from pressure, fear, or someone else's script for how your life should look. Here are examples of low autonomy situations. You're studying something only because your parents pushed you into it. You're in a job you can't stand but see no way out of. Your days feel like survival. You wake up exhausted, work late, have no time for yourself. In that state, life feels like something that's happening to you. You're not steering, you're just holding on. Research consistently links low autonomy with lower well-being and a weaker sense of meaning and direction. Not because life is hard, but because very little of it feels chosen. Autonomy grows when you start making choices that are genuinely yours. Not the right choice by society's standards, but the one aligned with your internal signal. Even if it's imperfect, even if it's uncertain. So maybe let's compare two situations. First one, imagine you move to a new city because you wanted to. You struggle with money, finding a job, loneliness, but the excitement is bigger than the suffering. You feel direction, the problems feel like a consequence of your own choice, so you're motivated to deal with them. Now imagine the same struggle, but you didn't choose the city. You're there because you had no other option. Suddenly, the exact same difficulties feel heavier because it feels like life is just throwing problems at you. You feel stuck. The motivation is gone. That's the difference between autonomy and its absence. When autonomy is present, even struggle can feel meaningful. When autonomy is gone, even comfort can feel empty. But what if you're in a situation you didn't choose? Stuck in a job, a city, circumstances outside your control. You can't always change your environment quickly, but you can change something immediate: the ratio of active to passive challenges in your life. So we have passive challenges. Problems life throws at you. Bills, illness, instability, a difficult boss. Here we have active challenges. Problems you choose: learning a skill, training for something, building a project, even cleaning your space every night before bed. Your brain doesn't calculate the total weight you're carrying. Subjectively, it doesn't feel like the total weight matters. It feels like the proportion matters. If you have only passive problems, you feel powerless. Add even to challenges you choose yourself, and your sense of control paradoxically rises. It feels like I'm holding the wheel again. Most people try to feel better by removing obligations, but running from passive challenges usually creates even more of them. Instability, avoidance, waiting for perfect conditions. Here's the paradox. Sometimes you can't make life easier, but you can often introduce chosen challenges that build strength. Jordan Peterson says humans are load-bearing animals. We need something to carry to feel purposeful. Without a chosen load, we turn that energy against ourselves. Boredom, restlessness, resentment, and slow self-destruction. There's a reason lions in captivity pace back and forth all day. It's not because they're bored in the simple sense. It's because they were built to hunt, to chase, to carry the weight of survival. And when that's taken away, the energy often turns inward. They don't become peaceful. They become restless, repetitive, slowly diminished. We're not that different. So when life is burying you, the counterintuitive move is to choose something hard and meaningful and start doing it. The act of voluntary decision can shift something in your psychological state. It makes you less pessimistic. It gives you energy to fight the problems you didn't choose. So let's say you hate your job and you're broke. If you go home and collapse, the hopelessness grows. But if you choose to work on something after your shift, even something tiny, your brain reads it as, I'm building my life again. Meaning rises, direction rises, hope rises. In Jungian thinking, life tends to involve some form of sacrifice. The question is only whether that sacrifice is forced or voluntary. Without purpose, the difficulty of life feels like tyranny, arbitrary, oppressive, something being done to you. With purpose, the same difficulty transforms. The effort becomes a voluntary sacrifice, chosen, meaningful, yours. And that changes everything about how it feels to carry it. Let's imagine this analogy. Your life is a boat on a rough sea. Passive challenges are the waves hitting the hull, pushing you off course. If you just sit and wait for the sea to calm, you'll eventually sink, not from the waves, but from the helplessness. Choosing an active challenge is the moment you pick up the oars and start rowing in a specific direction despite the waves. The rowing requires more effort than sitting still, but it's exactly that effort that turns you from driftwood into someone who's navigating. And one thing I need to say clearly, some of you are in situations so heavy that adding anything feels impossible. So I don't want to be misunderstood that I'm saying to you to add new challenges when you're barely standing. If you're in that place, your first challenge isn't to push harder. Your first challenge is to stabilize, to get enough ground under your feet to even consider rowing again. Number 2, competence, which is, I can handle this. The feeling that you are growing, that you can handle things, that you're expanding what you're capable of. This isn't about being the best at something. It's about progress, about operating at the edge of your current ability consistently and deliberately. Dr. K compares it to muscle hypertrophy. Growth only happens when tissue is placed under stress. If you always stay within what you already know how to do, your confidence never improves. And here's what matters most. Even failure at this stage can build something. That simple fact that you tried, that you didn't stand on the sidelines, develops your sense of direction. Because you learn what your edge actually is. It's not an accident that people in jobs with a real path for advancement tend to feel more satisfied. When competence grows, satisfaction appears, confidence increases. Motivation sustains itself because you can actually feel that something is coming from the effort. People without a sense of purpose often live on minimum effort. Not because life isn't hard for them, but because they've stopped stretching. They're not choosing challenges just above their current level. And without that stretch, meaning quietly collapses. Again, I'm not comparing the difficulty of life, but the approach. Number 3, relatedness, which is someone sees me. The sense of genuine connection with others. You can be introverted, you can love solitude, you can need a lot of time alone, but in complete isolation, no one sustains a high sense of meaning for long. Humans are social species. Strong evidence suggests we are not built for complete isolation. Relatedness doesn't mean having a packed social calendar or 1,000 friends. It means having at least one person who sees your authentic self and responds to that. Not someone who hears you while waiting for their turn to speak. Someone who's actually present, who recognizes something true in you. You've probably felt the difference. There are conversations where you walk away feeling lighter, more real, more seen. And there are conversations where nothing was actually exchanged, just words passing through each other. When relatedness is healthy, you feel supported and safe. Your emotions have somewhere to land. You become more resilient, not because problems disappear, but because you're not carrying them alone. When it's absent, the brain starts questioning the point of everything. Isolation and purposelessness feed each other in a loop that's very hard to break from the inside. And also, there's an important distinction worth making here. Relatedness doesn't mean chasing external validation. There's a difference between relationships built on your authentic self, where people respond to who you actually are, and relationships built on performing a version of yourself to get approval. The second kind doesn't satisfy the need for relatedness. It actually deepens the sense of emptiness. Because it can feel like you're being seen, but not as yourself. You feel invisible even though you are around people. Gabor Mate talks about something similar, that growth requires softness. Think of a butterfly in a cocoon. Inside, it's protected, but only by emerging, by becoming exposed, can it grow and show what it actually is. The moment it does, it becomes vulnerable. The word comes from the Latin vulnerare, to wound. The capacity to be truly seen is also the capacity to be hurt. In nature, growth happens only where things are soft and new. The crab has to shed its hard shell to grow. The tree grows where the bark is tender. Our defensive mechanism, the need to always be right, to protect ourselves at all costs, were built in childhood to shield us from pain. But they also stop us from growing. To move forward, you have to be willing to shed the hard shell, the old definitions of yourself, the old armor. In summary, if you're holding the wheel yourself, autonomy, regularly testing how far you can go, competence, and having at least one person who recognizes your journey, relatedness, you'll naturally feel that your path has meaning, even when the fog hasn't lifted, even when you can't yet see where you're going. And here's what I think is the most liberating thing about this framework. It doesn't ask you to find anything. It doesn't ask you to figure out your calling, your passion, or your grand mission. It just asks you to feed these 3 things consistently, imperfectly, one day at a time. Okay, so that's it. This video is part of my series on the sense of purpose. Other videos are linked in the description, so see you in the next video, the last one from the series. Thank you for watching and listening.